My brother texted, "I sold your car for $5,000. You never use it anyway." I replied, "Interesting." Then I called my legal team, "Please report the theft of company asset bin XK4789. Within hours, FBI agents were at his door. The text message came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my corner office on the 42nd floor of the Sterling Financial Tower. My assistant had just brought me coffee, and I was deep into analyzing portfolio performance when my phone buzzed with what would turn out to be the most expensive text message my brother Marcus had ever sent. "Hey, sis, hope you don't mind, but I sold your Honda for $5,000. You never drive it anyway, and I really needed the cash. Thanks for understanding." I stared at the message for a full 30 seconds, reading it 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding something. Then I set down my coffee cup very carefully and leaned back in my leather chair looking out at the city skyline while processing what my brother had just confessed to in writing. Marcus thought he had sold my old Honda for $5,000. What he'd actually done was steal and illegally dispose of a 2019 McLaren 720 Spider that was registered as a company asset of Apex Capital Management, the investment firm I'd founded and built into a $4.2 billion empire over the past 6 years. The car was worth $347,000. I picked up my phone and typed a simple response, "Interesting." Then I buzzed my assistant, "Sarah, please get David Chin from our legal department on the line immediately and cancel my 4 p.m. meeting. Something urgent has come up." While I waited for the call, I pulled up the vehicle registration documents on my computer. The McLaren was registered to Apex Capital Management with me listed as the authorized driver. It was purchased as a company asset for client, entertainment and business purposes, which meant it was protected under federal commercial theft statutes. Marcus had just committed federal grand theft auto. My phone rang. "David, I need you to listen carefully, because this is going to sound unbelievable." "What's the situation?" "Sophie, my brother, just texted me to inform me that he sold company vehicle, VIN Sajad, 4, GX5 Kane, Indiana, 01234, for $5,000 the McLaren. He sold the McLaren. Apparently, he thought it was my personal Honda Civic." There was a long pause. "Sophie, that's a $350,000 vehicle registered as company property. That's not just theft. That's major felony theft of corporate assets." "I'm aware. What's our protocol for this situation?" "We have to report it immediately. Federal law requires us to report theft of company assets over $100,000 within 24 hours. The FBI handles cases involving interstate commerce and vehicles of this value." I looked at Marcus's cheerful text message again, complete with a smiley face emoji. "David, I want you to file the report immediately, include the text message as evidence and request that they move quickly before the vehicle leaves the jurisdiction. Sophie, you realize this means your brother will be arrested. My brother stole a company car worth $350,000. The law is the law, but surely he didn't know. David, ignorance of the value doesn't change the fact that he took someone else's property without permission and sold it." File the report. After hanging up, I sat in my office trying to process how we'd gotten to this point. Marcus was my younger brother by 3 years, and for his entire adult life, he'd operated under the assumption that I was his struggling older sister who worked some boring finance job and lived modestly in a small apartment. This assumption wasn't entirely his fault. For 6 years, I deliberately maintained the appearance of a modest lifestyle. I drove the McLaren only for business purposes and client meetings, for family functions and casual outings. I drove a 2015 Honda Civic that I kept specifically to maintain my cover. The family had no idea that I was Sophie Chin, founder and CEO of Apex Capital Management, one of the fastest growing investment firms on the West Coast. They thought I was just another middle management employee at some generic financial services company. Marcus worked as a sales manager at a furniture store and was constantly struggling with money. He lived paycheck to paycheck, had mounting credit card debt, and had developed a gambling problem that he thought the family didn't know about. He'd been borrowing money from various family members for months, always with elaborate stories about temporary setbacks and promising to pay everyone back. Last week, he'd asked to borrow my Honda to help a friend move some furniture. I'd said yes, assuming he meant the actual Honda Civic that I kept in the parking garage below my apartment building. Instead, he'd somehow gotten hold of the keys to the McLaren, which I'd left at my parents' house after a family dinner 2 weeks ago. My phone buzzed with another text from Marcus. The buyer seemed really excited about the car, said something about it being a rare model anyway. "Thanks again for being cool about this." I stared at the message in amazement. The buyer had probably just acquired a $350,000 supercar for $5,000 and was undoubtedly thrilled about the deal. Marcus, meanwhile, had no idea he'd just committed a federal felony. Sarah knocked on my door. "Ms. Chin, I have Agent Rebecca Martinez from the FBI Financial Crimes Division on line 1. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. "Agent Martinez, thank you for calling so quickly. Ms. Chen, I've reviewed the initial report from your legal team. Can you confirm that your brother took and sold a 2019 McLaren 720 Spider without your knowledge or permission?" "That's correct. He sent me a text message approximately an hour ago informing me that he'd sold what he thought was my Honda Civic for $5,000 and the vehicle was registered as a company asset, yes, to Apex Capital Management. I can provide all the registration and insurance documents. We're going to need to move quickly on this. Do you know the identity of the buyer? No, but my brother mentioned that the buyer seemed excited about getting a rare model. I suspect the buyer knew exactly what they were purchasing. That suggests potential conspiracy or receipt of stolen goods. We'll need to interview your brother immediately to get the buyer's information. Agent Martinez, I should mention that my brother has no idea about the actual value of the car or my business. He genuinely believes he sold a worthless old Honda. That doesn't change the legal situation. Ms. Chen, theft is theft regardless of the perpetrator's knowledge of the item's value. I understand. I just wanted you to be aware of the circumstances. We'll be in touch within the next few hours. Please don't contact your brother or anyone else about this until we've had a chance to investigate. After the call ended, I tried to focus on work, but I couldn't stop thinking about the conversation I'd have to have with my family.